Okay, this is going to be a devlog for Ace Racers SP. All of my latest changes. Actually, I didn't write them all down, and I don't even remember what they all are. But I'm just going to try to go down a little bit of the list. Kind of making it up as I go along. So you can see here, I'm getting connected up with my game controller in VJoy serial feeder. So I'll just show you here this VJoy serial feeder. If you want to build yourself a 4-joystick controller, I'll just pop over here to tsmspace.com. It'll redirect, and here you can build your own 4-joystick controller. Oops. And here you can build your own 4-joystick controller. That's on my other monitor. And I got all the directions here on how to do it. So then, if you decide to do something like that to help you play Ace Racers SP, then you'll have your own controller, and it'll be a lot easier. But enough of the advertising. On to the so here we got the training levels, the starter levels, and the default hoops. These levels packs are going to ship with the game, even in the Steam. So one of the updates is that you can now find Ace Racers SP available on the Steam page. So I'll just see if it'll sign me in here. So I got some notifications. So I'll just come to my library and look, my game is here listed on my library. And if I click here, well, I can install it. You can't install it yet. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to go back to the browser. And go to Steam. Let's see if I'm logged in here. And then I'm going to log out. Alright, here we go. So now in the store, I'll search Ace Racers SP. And there it shows up free. And you can see it's coming soon. You can add to your wish list. I have this video that'll play through here. There's some images of the gameplay, some description, and once the game has been approved, the actual game itself, then it'll start a 2-week waiting period, or maybe that 2-week waiting period is already rolling, and then after that 2-week waiting period, the game will be free, and you can just play. So you can come here, you can share, you can click here to link, copy the link, then you can go to your favorite social media, and you can share it, just like that. So now anybody who comes to who happens to see that posting, they can be like, oh, there's a new game on Steam, who knew? So then I'm gonna go ahead, and you can see I haven't installed it from the store, but I'm just gonna run it out of my normal folder. And if you want to run it like this, you can always just download it from itch.io. So here we have the music volume slider, like always. Here's something that's new, the training menu. And I'm still kind of working on the training menu. But you can see we have space vehicle training, space vehicle small training, loader training, rock hopper training, and forward only vehicle training. So if I come here to the space vehicle training, You can see that a bunch of the training just happens out here at the space shuttle. So I'll turn the shift volume down a little bit so I can turn the music up a little bit. And you can see one of my new features here is that you can now skip the song, and you can do this with a button. Or you can do this with the button that's here in the pause menu. So if you're playing and you want a different background music, then you can just go ahead and skip the song like that. So, for the space vehicle, I've made 5 training courses. And just to go over it really quick, if you want to access those training courses, you will first need to come to the Import Levels pack. So none of the levels install loaded in to the game. And I know that there's a way that I could set it up to install that way, but I haven't done that yet. So for now, the training is like any other levels pack. And what you do is you go to Import Levels pack, and because they do install into the correct folder to be imported when you install from Steam, you will be able to just go to this menu, and then you can see here the training levels pack, and then once it says that here, once you click here, it'll pop that in here, and you can just hit import pack, and it'll import all of the training levels. And then, so the space vehicle small training is actually a little bit different. You can see I'm inside of this little room. So the space vehicle small is a little bit different in a few different ways. One important way is that the mass is less. So it rotates faster at the same power, and it accelerates more at the same power as the other drone. Of course, you can always just set these however you want, but by default, they're going to be the same power levels for both the drone and the space vehicle small. And actually the small will be a little dartier as a result. But the reason why it's in that room is because if you come here, and you can see I have these small levels right here. If you come into there, then the small is inside of the interior of the ISS. So the objective of the space vehicle small is to be something that is kind of simulating what maybe you would play if you were sitting inside of a space station. You know, so it's a little tiny vehicle. It's actually smaller physically as well, which also affects the rotation. So between the lower mass and the more central center of mass, as a result of the vehicle being smaller, it rotates a little bit more rapidly with the same input. But I kind of imagine that to be fairly realistic, because if you had a tiny little vehicle, it would rotate really easily. It would also accelerate easily, but rotation just feels more dramatic, because a few degrees of rotation, that doesn't take that much speed of the vehicle. And another major difference here is if we pop it here, well, you can see the difference is the arms of the warp ship are quite a bit smaller. I changed that. That's one of my little updates, and that's because if you go to place a ring, so these weights are all smaller, everything is smaller. If you go to place a ring, I'll put this one because it'll be really visible. And look how fast the warp ship goes. So if you place a ring and then you want to plan your course out. I was always whacking into the ring with the longer arms of the other warp ship. So I made that way when you're planning out the course, you can, I don't know if you can see that it says half rotation. You can set half rotation and then it won't rotate quite so quickly. And you can actually just switch to a lower power setting so that you fly more slowly. And then it'll be easier. And then because the ship is also smaller, then you should be able to plan your courses out without having to try too many times in a row. And then of course, as you can see here, this is the entire menu for the Space Vehicle Small. There's just, all of the gates are very small, and there's only a few, and everything happens in here. So if I click back to the menu, and I go to the ISS exterior, now I'm outside. And if I switch to space mode, pop up in my inventory, you can see that there's quite a few more objects, all different varieties of objects. Got some big rocks, bigger hoops. Here's some space stations, which are quite large. So if I place this space station, so then another thing you can see right away, the arms of the warp ship are quite a bit longer. So this is the original design. It looks a little more natural. Here I'll place a space station. So you can put down a space station, and there you have a space station, and you can build a course around that. So, and also you can see right away, it's a lot easier to manage the reduced rotation and acceleration because the mass is more. So all the power settings are actually tuned up for this vehicle. And, you know, I got all these different songs, so I can hit the button to select. So another change, well, another new thing, it's not really a change at this point. In the training menu, I'm very happy. So this is a space shuttle, this is that room, this is the space shuttle, this is the space shuttle. All these vehicles are just out at the space shuttle, except for the small is in a room, and the rock hopper is on the best lunar surface that I've put in the game yet. So I'll just go ahead and switch to space mode here, and switch to VH, so I can try to fly around. So you can see that this lunar surface is much more expansive than any of my other arenas that are in the game. So I'm coming up to the edge of it here. So here's the edge of that side. And then if I turn around, I'll go for kind of a little while. And when you really get looking at it, you'll notice that some of the patterns appear to be repeating in it, but it's a tiled surface. There's 9 tiles, and they're not all duplicates, but there is some mirroring going on between some of these tiles. So some of the tiles, they must be identical to each other and then just reversed, leading to these kind of formations like this. But it doesn't really matter because the objective of this giant lunar surface is actually to fly close to the bottom down here. So then I'll switch back to normal, pop into the space vehicle. I'll hit this camera right here so you can see the vehicle a little bit. And so then I can fly around, you know, a larger lunar area with this here rock hopper. And I like that it's in the training map because, you know, it's not really the racing and it's not really the purpose of the game to just kind of fly around for fun around an area, but it is kind of part of the phase that you go through when you're just getting the feel of the controls, especially when there's supposed to be a ground. That you don't really want to try to fly a programmed course or something like that. You want to try to just kind of experience moving around an environment. So I'm just really happy that I found this one and figured out what it was and stuff like that, and then included it right when I wanted a nice big expansive training arena. So I'll restart here. I'm at the thing, and then here again I still have 5 training levels. So for example, training level 1, it's a line race. You can see in the top above my head right there, it's a line race. Last hoop is last hoop. Really simple. I'll just begin. And so you saw that little green dot up here. And all you got to do for training level 1 is fly over to the other landing pad. And then land, and you can see my docking indicator. And then once you're set, then you dock, and it's over. And that's the end of training 1. So at the moment, none of my training has any instructions. And so I haven't decided if I actually want to try to make a text-based instruction that kind of plays during the training or not. Sometimes I do think it's a good idea. Other times I actually don't want to do that. And then included in the training levels pack is 1 race that you would finish with at the end. And I put a video up of this. Oh. See, now that I've loaded that thing. And so now I'm here at this race. And I'll just use the... Oh no. My controller got disconnected, as it happens. Oh no. I just got a bug. Nothing will move. My controller's working, but my character won't move, so let me just quit to the menu. Okay, it's working now. I wonder what that was. So going back. So here's this level. And then you just fly around at one time. And then of course if you're like, no, I don't want to fly around at one time, I want to do mini laps. Well, you can always hit the buttons to change to a number of laps, infinite laps, reset weight each lap, change the timer type. You can set it up to a manual timer. Then just hit timer start, timer stop. You know, and if you don't know what buttons to use, then you can just come in here and right here in default, you see you can skip the song. But if you go to build and race controls, then you can hit the end key and that'll start the manual timer. So if I want to run the manual timer, then I just turn the race on. Now my timer's running away. You can see that. So one issue that I did notice I've been having here, and it's become more apparent in the space vehicle small. Here I made this level. I call it the reality of space. So it doesn't happen that much, but if I start the race, then you'll see that it lights up like that. But I got these hoops that are really close together. So when I was making the regular space vehicle, I would have this problem where once you start going too fast, then the gate won't register you anymore. And it wasn't supposed to register me that time, especially because it's not racing anymore. But so if you really turn up your power, that one did register me, and you want to go flying really fast, then what's going to end up happening is you'll tunnel. So it's just something that happens in games. And basically tunneling means even though you did hit something, because it calculated you here and then it calculated you here, if that thing was in between there and you aren't in one of those two places, wasn't that place, then the game won't know that you were supposed to hit that, and you'll go right through a wall or something like that. And so I was tunneling through these racing gates a lot. Well, now that I've kind of been working on it, I've gotten it to where it doesn't really tunnel. I don't think it's tunneling at all. But because of the system that I'm using, what happens instead is, like, here's an example where you have these two that are close together. You can, and then if you goof up, you bounce off this stuff. Well, you might trigger a gate even though you didn't go through it. Right? So I can probably trigger this one without going through it. So you saw that, well, I did kind of go through it, but you can trigger it without going through it. And that's kind of a problem, but I'm not really sure how to go about fixing that, because so one of the things that I did to make it so that you don't tunnel, even though the ship is this size right here, there's an invisible collider that can get very long when you're going faster, and it rotates around like a tail. And so if I come up to this thing and then I go like this and then I bounce off it, when I start going back this way, my tail sticks out in front of me, because now my tail is gonna follow my direction of travel, right? So if I hit this thing and I go backwards for a second, the tail is going to flip around and point that way, all the way through the gate. And this can happen from all different angles. So you see, if I come right up close to it and I start pulling away, it triggers it. Well, I made that tail because of the tunneling, and anything that I can imagine that I can do to fix this problem will make the tunneling come back, because any kind of smaller check mesh that I put on there is not gonna, it's gonna tunnel sometimes when you start going fast. So a lot of games, what they do because of this, instead of letting you go fast, they put these decorative particle effects on the screen. And then, so if I go to VH here, that's really enough. So they put these particle effects on the screen, and then it looks like you're going fast, but you're not going that fast. So if you watch how long it takes the player to get from one obstacle to the next, then you'll notice that it seems to take a long time for how fast the window appears to be moving. Well, I don't want that in my game, you know. So I want you to be able to get up to speed if you want. So if I go flying through it this fast, right there, without any of these other extra meshes that I've got going on, then it'll tunnel every single time. It'll never trigger them, you know. And so then, because it's an important feature of my game where you can come in here and turn your power setting up. So let's say it's at 2400 right now for the VH thrust. Well, let's say I'm like, I want to go to 10,000. That's what I like. And then when I go back, and then let's see how fast I go. I want players to be able to do this and then move legitimately very rapidly, you know. So that right there, I think that you'll still be able to trigger every single gate you fly through at that speed. And that was about 900. I think at 900 you'll still trigger every single gate So it's a compromise. Do I make it so that when you're going all slow into the little places, you'll never accidentally trigger a gate? Or do I make it so that when you're going really fast, and then you can say, well, but in that small one, well, man, I may tune it that way. I may switch it back just for the small one, since it's all inside anyways. But it's crazy because if people are going to turn it up a little bit, it doesn't take that much speed before it tunnels. So I kind of need those features anyway, so I'd rather find a solution that works for everything, because see, I think maybe that might tunnel even still sometimes up over 1,000. So I don't really know what to do about that. But so the problem is that when I try to overcome the one issue, then I get back that other issue. So if I come back in here, then you'll be able to see that I have some pretty big gates. Some of these are a lot bigger. Right, so when you're wanting to go really fast, you can play with some bigger gates. I'm not sure how big these are. And I think that's going to be about the limit. This bigger ones is probably about as big as I'm going to make them. You know, if I switch back here, and zoom out, it's pretty big. It's not as dramatic as the Fly Dangerous gate. The Fly Dangerous gate is quite a bit bigger, even still, but it's pretty big. I mean, I don't think it needs to be any bigger than that. At some point we just have to say, well, you're going too fast, slow down and put some more turns in there. Alright, so I think that basically summarizes all of my recent updates for the game. I know it's not that much, but the big news is that, of course, it'll be available for download from Steam, and that's very exciting because so many people don't want to use itch.io. So I don't know if this has ever happened to me or not, but I think it has, because somebody did say, oh, the pop-ups, and so if you go to itch.io, well, you can see the game here, and it's the same game, you know, but when you download it, Windows says, I don't recognize this program. Are you sure you want to? And then you have to say more options, and you have to say run anyway, and nobody wants to do that. They're worried about that. And in other places, like on Facebook, and for example, in a game developer group, other people complain about this. And they don't want to use Steam because you have to pay $100 to list your game in Steam, and you have to pay other people to use their services as well, but Steam goes around that because it just installs it for you. And so that's actually the main reason why I wanted to use Steam in the first place. So I'm very excited that Steam is going to be allowing me to list my game on there, and that I've been approved, and it's going to be a few weeks before it goes up there. In the meantime, you actually are safe to just download it here. And when you run it and you install it, if you build levels running it from here, just from a folder like this, the computer's still going to think it's the same game as when you run it from here. So all your saves are going to be accessible from either one because it's the same program. So when it saves the saves to a folder, it's going to save them to the same place and look to the same place to find them, whether you run the program from the itch download or from the Steam download. All of that kind of stuff is going to be shared in between them. What will not be in the same place is if you export and export your saves to Steam. Oh, so there's another big update. I gotta go back. I'll have to make a tutorial for this. Alright, so if you want to import your levels pack, but you don't want to put it into the same folder So what happens when you install a game from Steam? You can find it. There's a few ways you can find it. Let me go to here, this game. So if I go to this game, alright, so if I go to the properties, no. How do I see the local files? There's a way to see the local files here. Oh, it's not installed. I uninstalled it because I reset my computer. Here's one. Alright. So if I go to manage here, I can browse the local files. And here I am. And so if you install Ace Racers SP, then when you click on it and you go to manage, it'll say view the local files, browse the local files, and if you export or if you want to import without using this new path system, then you can just do that and you can go to the local files. But if you're like, no, I just want to go straight to the desktop. Alright, so what you can do if you want to just export it directly to the desktop is you can right click from inside of the file explorer here. You can right click on the desktop and then copy as path. And once you've copied it as path, let me go here, run my game again. And so then if I go to import levels pack, and let's say I want to look on my desktop. Well, I went to the desktop, right? I copied his path. Copy his path. And then I come here, find path to find pack, and I paste with Control V. And now that is the file path to my desktop. And what do you know? I have some levels packs right there on my desktop. So the same thing, if I want to go and I want to export a level to my pack, then I go, I find the arena that I made they'll save in. So let's say I'm like, man, I made one in the space vehicle small training called the Reality of Space. I want to save that in a new levels pack. So first I'm going to copy as path. Oh, well. First I want to, oh, I can't do it. Okay, so in this case I would need to make a levels pack. Maybe I didn't make this correctly. So I think if I generate a pack name called my new levels, and I choose the Reality of Space, and let me try that. Alright, so let me go to my desktop. So if I go to the desktop, and sure enough, here's a pack of my new levels. That's not very good. It didn't work. So I'll have to work on that. Something didn't work right. I thought it was working correctly. Don't worry. I'll get it figured out next time. Alright, thank you very much. Okay. I figured out what I did wrong. So, I don't want to generate a new pack. I want to select the Reality of Space. I want to save it to my new levels in a pack just in here. So I'm in my new levels now, and I want to export it to the pack. So once I've exported it to the pack now, inside of my new levels is the Reality is my new levels pack and the Reality of Space. Then I want to select this pack, and I want to copy that whole pack. So first I have to generate it in a regular place, and then I can take any levels pack that I've already generated. I just select it, and then I copy it to the path, and it's going to put it on the desktop. So then if I go to my desktop, okay, so now I'm on my desktop. Here's my new levels pack with the reality of space export. Or if I go looking for training levels pack is right here. Right. So you don't export it from here directly to somewhere. First, you find the levels that you want to save, make the levels pack, just build it all right here until when you click on the levels pack, whichever levels pack you're trying to build, it should have all the courses that you want to put into that levels pack listed here. Once you've built that pack completely, then you paste the path or type it that you want to save that pack to. So in this case, let's say I want to put it to the desktop so then I can send it to somebody in the email. Make sure that it's selected here. It'll show right here. And then you click copy that path to the pack to the path. So it'll still be in here, but there will also generate a copy at that location that you've selected. And in this case, I selected the desktop. And that's how it's going to work. Alright, thank you.